guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, thank you so much for clicking on this video and being here. I always appreciate that. We're going to be talking about the reviews for Nosferatu, the movie based on Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1897. I'm going to say that again, 1897, and they're still making movies based on that Bram Stoker Dracula book. That's absolutely insane, and that's kind of mind-blowing to me, to be honest. But yeah, we're going to jump into this article, take a look at the reviews for this movie, and see what people are saying about it. It seems to be landing pretty well with the critics, and it's definitely piqued my interest. But I just want to say, on a tangent quickly, it feels like this movie should be something that's coming out in the Halloween period. It feels very weird that this is a Christmas movie. It's a Dracula movie based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. And it's kind of like coming out at Christmas instead of Halloween. And it's kind of it feels a bit wrong. But anyway, so this comes to us from Comic Book Movie. Nosferatu's Rotten Tomatoes score has been revealed, but is it good news for horror fans? That's a very, very good question. So let's go straight over here to Rotten Tomatoes. Then after we finish reading the reviews, we'll dive into some details and information surrounding the movie for those of you who may not know much about what's going on with the movie itself. So, going over to Rotten Tomatoes here, we're currently sitting at a 93% from 57 reviews, which is a pretty incredible score. Any movie that gets 90% or above, that's a huge, massive win in my book. But again, it feels very strange that I'm talking about a Dracula Christmas movie. It doesn't really, there's something that doesn't quite jar for me there, but, you know, it is what it is. The Christmas period, one of the busiest box office periods of the year, so I understand why they put this out at Christmas instead of Halloween. I get it from a business perspective. But anyway, guys, so yeah, 93% from 57 reviews for Nosferatu 2024. I just wanted to show you guys this as well. So the original Nosferatu, back in 1922, I think this came out. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's 1922. Oh, yeah, it says here, March 5th, 1922. This has 97% from 71 reviews. So, the modern retelling of this movie is basically sitting at 4% less than that original 1922 movie. So, they're around about the same score, which is pretty impressive. It's pretty good. So, it looks like Robert Eggers, he's done a good sort of rendition of this movie here. So, let's go over and take a look at the top critic reviews and see what people are saying about this movie. So, starting off with this one from Fangoria, Nosferatu is what a perfect classic horror movie looks like. From the Daily Beast, a monument to dark desire and the corruption it breeds, and a masterpiece of unholy terror that instantly takes its place alongside the genre's hallowed greats. From the BBC, what really separates Eggers' Nosferatu from the flock is how deeply it explores the images and themes of vampire lore. There aren't many Dracula films that give you so much to sink your teeth into. The play on words, I love it. So, from the New York Post, Eggers' casting is a fang of beauty. Blood-drained Gothic faces abound, like they were all kidnapped from Edgar Allan Poe-themed cocktail party. From the AV Club, scrumptiously realised and terminally self-serious, it's the culmination of everything Eggers has been working towards in his career so far, for better or for worse. From the Film Maven, Nosferatu is very much a movie that runs on vibes, a dark, moody film, riddled with foreboding and grand Gothic orchestration. So from the Times, the first negative review here, is ultimately a tonal problem. The film is so self-serious that it keeps stumbling into camp. It wants to be Moranu's original, but Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein is in the way. The Daily Telegraph, it's as if Eggers plucked the first edition of Bram Stoker, exquisitely bound and illustrated, and shoved it for safekeeping in the chest freezer. From IndieWire, Eggers' broadly suggested script doesn't put too fine a point on the specifics of Ellen's repression, but Depp's revelatory performance ensures the rest of the movie doesn't have to. So from Variety, another negative review here. Nosferatu builds to a tragic finale, but is weighed down by pretentious dialogue, somnolent pacing, and weak performances, especially that of Lily Rose Depp as the doomed damsel. So, from Bloody Disgusting, Eggers reinterprets Mamrou's seminal work as a psychosexual gothic tragedy that transforms this adaptation into a mesmeric, macabre masterpiece. From The Guardian, this is elaborate, detailed love letter to the original, intelligently respectful and faithful. That's a great sort of small review there. Intelligently respectful. It's always great to be respectful of what's come before, and faithful as well. while kind of adding new content to it as well, of course. So, from The Independent in the UK, Nosferatu not only revitalizes the classic monster, it reminds us why they matter at all. So, from The Wrap, the Count Orlok is a gruesome monstrosity, gnawed on and gnawed as repulsive as movie monsters get, but he is now also that sexual creature, a hypermasculine 1970s porn star, as virile as he is virulent. That's not something that I expected to hear here. He's a hypermasculine 1970s porn star. Like, what? That definitely wasn't something that I was expecting to come up in a review here, I have to say. From The Hollywood Reporter, it's thrilling to experience a movie so assured in the way that it builds and sustains fear, so hypnotically scary as it grabs you by the throat and never lets go. That sounds really good. Like, really great tension that makes you sit on the edge of your seat. That's exactly what I want from this film. This certainly is a more explicitly sexy version of Nosferatu. Again, they're talking about, like, the sex appeal in this movie. Like, apparently Nosferatu is now sexy and a 1970s porn star. What are we even talking about right now? However, it otherwise follows its source material as well as the paths laid out by other adaptations, so faithfully that its most original elements feel drowned out by the familiar. So, overall here, guys, we got some great reviews here. People seem to be overwhelmingly love it. There are a couple of negative reviews here, but the whole 1970s porn star sexuality angle, that was something I really didn't expect. But it sounds great here. Revitalizes a classic monster. That's exactly what you want to hear from a movie like this. And it sounds great. These reviews sound exactly like what I wanted to see, and I'm definitely going to be checking this out when this movie comes out. I'm pretty excited to see this now. So let's go back over to comic book movie and let's read some of the details here. So the first reviews for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu dropped last night, and we now have a Rotten Tomatoes score for the filmmaker's long-awaited return to horror. As we write this, it sits at 93%. Yeah, it's still at 93%. I just wanted to double check. From 57 reviews, whether the movie will find a mainstream audience over the holidays is hard to say. This is the thing that worries me. We have big movies like Sonic, like Mufasa, like really big pop cultural zeitgeist type of movies that families are going to run out to. Is this movie going to get lost in that kind of battle between Mufasa and Sonic? Is this going to be the underdog? Is it going to underperform because people are going to overlook it to see those two bigger films over this Christmas period? That's something that, that's something that worries me here. We could end up with a really fantastic movie, and it sounds like we have. But ultimately, if no one sees it and it flops, that would be such a disappointment, because I would love to have more of these classic monster, these classic kind of monster tales being told at the box office. I would love to see more of these kind of movies. Though some horror purists will likely be upset by the supposed changes made to Count Orlok's appearance. Yeah, I mean, we're reimagining Nosferatu. We can't keep the design exactly the same. It has to be changed. It has to be kind of modernized ever so slightly. So there's always going to be those people that will be upset no matter what you change about his appearance. But as the person behind the production, the director, the costume design, whatever, whoever's in charge of his appearance, Count Orlok, I mean, you have to go with a change, and you have to kind of just go with your gut and make him look good and kind of try and update him, but still kind of allude back to that original kind of appearance of what he looks like, which is a fine line to tread. But if you can do it, then, it's a win. Hopefully they got it right. So Eggers has always fared pretty well on Rotten Tomatoes, with The Witch at 93%. The Witch, absolutely fantastic movie, guys. Make sure you check out The Witch if you haven't seen it. That's a fantastic movie. I do recommend it. The Lighthouse, it's a very artsy type of movie, I believe. I haven't seen it myself, but I hear good things. That's got a 90%. And The Northman at 90%. Again, The Northman, I think it's like a Viking type movie. Absolutely incredible brutality. The fight scenes, absolutely incredible. Do check that out. I remember seeing that at the cinema. Really, really great. All certified fresh. So Robert Eggers has a really great track record when it comes to his, the scores of his movie when it comes to critics. Orlok has deliberately been kept under wraps in the marketing campaign for his new take on Nosferatu. The studio is keen for it not to be referred to as a remake. That's absolutely fair enough. It doesn't need to be a remake of that 1922 movie. It can be its completely own standalone interpretation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. A remake suggests that they're kind of, retreading that old movie but updating it, whereas this is just a complete standalone, a refreshing kind of take on that Bram Stoker, book. It has nothing to do with the last movie that came out, so it's its own standalone thing. And Eggers recently addressed his approach to the iconic vampire in an interview with Deadline. So, Robert Eggers, the director, went on to say this, quote, vampirism and Dracula is the thing that I've been thinking about and looking at for a long time, the filmmaker explained. I had read Montague Summers, the clergyman schooler who wrote about the occult as a teenager, and many authors of vampire lore, but I think until I set out to make Nosferatu, I was still too contaminated by the cinematic tropes. And so, you're infusing things you're reading with cinematic tropes that aren't there. In doing the research to write this script, I needed to discipline to forget what I knew, and then you start looking at the really early vampire accounts, and you're like, they're not even drinking blood. They're just strangling people or suffocating people or fucking them to death. Is that what this is referring to when it's talking about those reviews? Fucking people to death. Are we actually going to get that in this movie? Because that's just going to be all kinds of crazy. And that was really interesting. What would a dead Transylvanian nobleman actually look like? Eggers continued. That was basically where I started from, and I wanted to still acknowledge Matt Schreck's makeup design. The new take on F.W. Manu's 1922 version and Werner Herzog's take on 1979, Nosferatu is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. And you have the cast list there, guys. Have a pause and read of that if you want to. I'm not going to read it because I'll butcher the names. So that's kind of where we are. That summarizes all the reviews that we read there, guys. Sitting at a 93% from 57 reviews. So ultimately, it's landing very, very well with the critics. The majority of them seem to be liking this movie. There's a couple of negative reviews in there, but you always expect that no matter how good a movie is, there's always going to be a couple of people that it doesn't land for. And that's perfectly fine. You know, movies are subjective. They don't land the same way for everybody. So getting 100% is near impossible sometimes. It can be done, obviously, but 93%. Absolutely incredible score for Nosferatu. Again, it feels like we should be talking about a Halloween film here, but Christmas box office is probably bigger and they do more business, so it makes sense, like I said before, to release this movie at Christmas instead of Halloween. But guys, you see the Rotten Tomatoes score, we've read the reviews. What do you think about this movie? Does this get you more excited and hyped to go and watch Nosferatu? I love saying it in that voice, by the way. Yeah, will you be checking this out over the Christmas period? Is it something that's on your radar? And just let me know what you think about what we've covered in this video, guys. I can't wait to hear your feedback on this. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. Consider becoming a subscriber here if you haven't already, guys. It goes a long way to supporting the content, and I really, really would appreciate you guys being around here. So, I will see you in the next video.